How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Wolf, and today I want to give you guys my Deadeye build in Guild Wars 2 that I've been running for the past little while. Someone recently was curious about what build I'm using for fractals and what have you, as they are just starting out on Thief. Now, this build is very low intensity. You don't have to do a lot of things here. However, we are going to be a little bit on the squishy side with my exact and preferred setup. I will give you a couple of tweaks to the build and a couple of different alterations to make that less so. But this is the rifle Deadeye build that I have been running all the way up to Fractal 75 so far. I'm just about to break into tier 4s, but I haven't done so just yet. But I have not been having any trouble with this setup whatsoever. I am running a more damage oriented setup right now, and I will show you the survivability setup that I was running beforehand, where I literally could not die. So with that being said, what is the general point of Deadeye is we're going to be a ranged DPS that does a shit ton of damage. So our focus is going to be to find a decent spot and pop into kneel and do as much damage as we can humanly possibly do. And this setup allows us to do quite a bit with that. So I would assume, hopefully, that you know some of the Deadeye spells, but if not, basically the rotation is going to use our Deadeye's mark, which will put a mark on the target and start generating our malice here. And then we want to fill out our malice bar, which by using initiative skills will generate malice. And then we want to spend all of the malice with a sniper shot called Death's Judgment, which does bonus damage per stack of malice we have here. Now we get 7 through one of our traits, which lets us do even more damage. Now I have rigged this up exactly perfectly to create an infinite combo that'll allow you to do as much possible DPS. So, just to show you a little bit of the basics of the build here and the setup. So with Deadeye, you will get access to Malice and everything, and then with the final trait, Maleficent 7 here, we will get boons, and we will get initiative back upon reaching maximum Malice. So what we want to do is hit max Malice, it'll refresh our initiative, then we want to pop our stealth attack, and it'll reset it back to 0, and then we rebuild it. Now, utilizing Silent Scope from Deadeye here, we can gain stealth whenever we dodge roll with a rifle equipped. So, that allows us to create a very simple combo, which is we kneel, we pick a spot that we're not going to be interrupted by any mechanics or anything. Sometimes you will have to get up and, move around depending on mechanics and the boss you're fighting. But then we want to mark our target, and then we want to use our third ability, which is Triple Tap, which is going to fire 3 shots, which is going to give us 2 stacks of initiative. I know it's a little bit counterintuitive, but still. So we want to fire that until we hit maximum malice. Then we want to dodge roll with the silent scope, and then we want to blast them. That'll dump our malice, and then we want to do that again, and again, and again. And by the time we have max malice, our revealed is run out, and you can literally do that combo over and over and over again until your Deadeye's mark runs out. And that is how we retain exceptionally high DPS. Now, the other utility skills and what have you are just added on things to said build to make that basic combo a little bit better. So, I shall cover all of the build intricacies for you here. Basically, we are running Trickery, Acrobatics, and Deadeye for our little setup here. We're going to go with Trickery at the top here for Stealing gives you initiative. Now, anything that applies to Stealing will apply to Deadeye's mark. Playing Deadeye will replace Steal with the mark, obviously. That'll give you initiative when you use it. When you steal, you'll also gain Fury, Might, and Swiftness. You'll also be at 25 Might because Triple Tap and Double Tap give you 3 Might every time you use it. So that'll be generating a shit ton of Might for you, which you then dodge roll and use the big snipe for. Then we're going to be using Preparedness. This is why we're running Trickery, is this exact option right here, which increases your maximum initiative by 3. This gives us the initiative that we need to be able to retain this combo infinitely. The more survivable version doesn't run this setup, and it makes life a little bit more difficult. If it would drop combat for me here, that would be nice, but I don't think it's going to. And then we're going to run Bountiful Theft, which Stealing grants you and all nearby allies Vigor, which means you can dodge roll more often. and it'll also rip boons and grant them to nearby allies. You can run other things in here if you want, but both of them kind of suck. This is just bonus vigor, so we can dodge roll more. Lead attacks is going to work very well with our build, and it's also going to reduce the cooldown time of steel. This is going to give us increased damage per initiative spent. We're spending initiative all the time, so we're at maximum stacks pretty much all the time there. And then stealing will daze, and it'll also reduce the cooldown of steel. Now, using both of these will reduce the cooldown to 17 seconds, so you can keep Deadeye's mark up infinitely on a single target, which will allow us to keep our combo going without having to worry whatsoever, because there was some times when I was running the survivability setup that my mark would fall off at the end of the combo, and I would have, 5 seconds before I could reapply it. So this setup negates that entirely. Then in acrobatics, we're going to get swiftness upon dodging. Doesn't really make a difference. Gain evasion when struck below the health threshold. This is just to make sure you don't get one shot by anything. You can run pain response if you want as well. Gain vigor upon evading is whatever. Break stun and refill endurance when you're stunned. This is going to give us our endurance back so we can dodge roll more. And it's going to make it so if we get clipped by something while kneeling, it'll just instant break and we can go back into kneeling. The other options are also kind of underwhelming. And then we have the effects of vigor on you are enhanced. We're getting vigor from stealing, which is quite nice. And then we get assassin's reward, which is heal yourself whenever you use a skill that uses initiative. Heal yourself for each point of initiative spent. Now, I haven't really done the math just yet on which option is better, because you could potentially switch out this line with anything else. If you want more damage, you can go for the executioner line here to get bonus DPS. But this is going to be a nice amount of healing for you. Just casually. Combine Assassin's Reward with Signet of Malice, which heals when you attack, and you're taking, 104 per spell, which is 4 initiative, so 400, and, 500 healing every single time we're pressing R3, which we're pressing all the time. With 1100 health, that's, 5 or 10% of our HP every spell, which is very nice in regards to long-term healing. Now, I'll show you what the other setup I was running was, which I believe was critical strikes here, and we were going for invigorating precision. I had replaced the trickery line with critical strikes, literally just for invigorating precision, because you are healed for a percentage of outgoing critical hit damage. This healing is increased while you're under the effects of Fury, and we'll gain Fury when we hit Maleficent 7 here, when we hit our stat cap. So we'll be at 6% healing of a crit damage with Fury. I don't know what the math is on if this is better than Assassin's Reward, so you can switch this around and maybe that'll make you tankier, so you don't have to worry about anything there. But if you want the ultimate survivability setup, put critical strikes here, and you'll be able to get that extra healing there as well. And then in the Deadeye, I covered pretty much most of it, which is going to give us Deadeye's mark. And then when you cast a cantrip, gain a random new stolen skill, this can go to pretty much whatever. This doesn't really matter. I was running some cantrip stuff, so I left this on by accident. But all of these kind of suck. So stealth attack will immediately grant a malice. You're dumping it all. I don't know if that'll give us 1 to start. Maybe it does. If it does, then that's the better option. I can't switch it and check because I'm in combat with the fucking golem. So Silent Scope is going to be required for getting access to reliable stealth, otherwise you're not going to get it reliably enough. And then Maleficent 7, I talked about earlier, that creates the sort of whole combo. And then we're going to go into the gear and the utility skills, so I'll just cover the gear very quickly. Actually, I'll cover the utility skills first, because it's the gear is going to lead into something different. So we're running Signet of Malice for heals when you attack, which is just passive healing, which is always nice. Never press the actual heal unless you're in deep shit. It's not worth pressing. Just using the passive healing is generally your better go-to. And then Assassin's Signet is going to passively grant you power, and power is massively increased for a short duration. What I'll generally do is you got a 5-second window of using this, so I'll pop this when I'm near the end of my Deadeye combo. So I will, mark without canceling it, preferably. I'll mark, then I'll do all of these, and then I'm near the end of it now, so I'm going to double tap, dodge roll, big death judgment, 21k, right? Because that gives us all of the power amplification, we get all the lead attacks bonuses, we get a little bit of damage on the triple tap there at the end, and then we amplify the death judgment for a big 21k crit. Sometimes it won't crit, but still that's decent damage that can one-shot pretty much any sort of like lower HP enemy and do decent damage to bosses. And then the second one is going to be Infiltrator Signet, which gives us a little bit of initiative every 10 seconds, which helps with the initiative setup, just so you don't get stuck in a weird situation where you're out of initiative. Don't feel too bad about using Skirmisher's Shot either, because it's one initiative lower. So if it's going to get you to your last point, I've had situations where I'll be stuck on 6 and I can't get to the 7th one. Feel free to use Skirmisher's Shot because it's 1 point cheaper, which will get you there and then refresh your initiative back up. I have had moments like that happen, but this is there to negate that. Also gives you a Shadow Step and lets you break stuns. And then we have Haste for gain quickness, fury, and swiftness. You don't get quickness off of Maleficent 7, unfortunately. So if you do need quickness at any point, you can use it there. And otherwise, that will break stuns for you as well. So generally, my combo, I'll start off with quickness, with haste, do the entire combo, Assassin Signet, dodge roll, snipe, and then just repeat triple tapping over and over again. Dagger Storm I use as an evade as well as big AoE damage. You can use Basilisk Venom here if you want. I was running Shadow Meld, but you have more than enough stealth just off of your dodge rolls that you don't really need it. So this evade frame for 3 seconds is a nice sort of oh shit button if you're going to get hit by a mechanic while you're kneeling or in a really bad spot. Otherwise, Basilisk Venom is decent for break bar stuff. Let's just remove my golem here. And that should drop combat for us. Because, yeah, the other ones don't really matter. Like Shadow Meld, you're going to have enough stealth. Basilisk Venom is good for CC. Thieves Guild is absolutely useless. Another thing that I was running here was I was running Shadow Refuge if you need to, like, heal your team or revive people or what have you. That one is decent. Everything else in regards to thief utility skills suck, which makes me kind of sad. My second weapon is Shortbow, because for AoE fights or AoE situations, you're going to want to be spamming cluster bombs. Do make sure to use choking gas as well, because choking gas will create area weakness when you detonate it with cluster bombs. And choking gas is also a daze. So this will give you some break bar damage as well. Not a lot, but it is something if you're stuck in this weapon set and you need to break a break bar. Now, coming into break bars, that is where we're going to get into the gear, which is quite important as well. So for our equipment, we're going to be running full Berserker across the entire set, or as close as you can get to it. I couldn't get entirely Berserker on my Ascended gear, but still. And then a Ascended Berserker Rifle and Berserker Shortbow. Now, I'm not entirely too sure what the best runes are, or the best sigils are to run. I'm just running stuff that's crit-oriented, which is Sigil of Fire for trigger Flame Blast with AoE, so we get a little bit of extra AoE, and then Bloodlust because we're going to be on Rifle pretty much all the time. Might be better putting the Bloodlust on the Shortbow because we'll be doing all the AoE and stuff, but getting that 250 extra power if you can manage it and keeping it up during a fight is quite nice. But if you find yourself going down a lot, don't run Bloodlust because you lose the entirety of your Bloodlust stacks the moment you go down. So do be wary of that. And then on my Shortbow, I'm running Air Fire just to get extra AoE damage with some bonus detonations and that sort of stuff. You can run, like Force Exploitation, but I wasn't feeling like spending, 10, 15 gold on just sigils on my weapons. And then the rest of that is just Agony Infusions and all Berserker gear. So, yeah, that is our setup. We're running Scholar Runes as well. Those are going to be a little bit pricey, but increases your strike damage by 5% while your health's above 90%. We're going to be staying above 90% quite easily through our healing with Acrobatics or through Critical Strikes, depending which option you take. And finally, the other thing to talk about is when you have to deal with break bars. It's unfortunate, but sometimes we have bad teammates that just can't get the job done. So with that, what I will opt to change out is I will go for Sword and Dagger. We will go for that. We'll go for Sword Dagger, and then I will switch this to Shadow Gust, which is going to do a AoE knockback, which is going to break the bar, and then Basilisk Venom. And so what you want to do to break bars is we're going to be utilizing our stealth. Let me just spawn this fella real fast. Spawn my golem, thank you. So we come in, a man's got a break bar, right? And so what we want to do, stealth with Cloak and Dagger, and then bonk him in the back of the head with Hilt Bash. And that's going to break a bar quite easily. Even more so, you can give Basilisk Venom to your team and do the exact same thing. So Basilisk Venom and Cloak and Dagger, bonk, and then you can utilize the Shadow Gust to break bars as well. And that's your only real reliable source of like constant break bar damage. Make sure you hit them from behind with Hilt Bash too, because it's going to do bonus stuff if you hit them from behind, and it won't daze otherwise. So the simpler way of breaking bars is to use choking gas on the short bow, but sometimes you're not gonna be able to do that. So, but yeah. Blind your foe by bashing them with their sword hilt, or daze them if you attack them from behind. And that's what we're looking for, is the daze from behind. If you can't get behind a boss, feel free to just use a short bow. But that's really all you've got in regards to like break bar and dazing and what have you. And that's the best options that I have found to go for myself. But yeah, that is going to bring us to the end of this build guide for my Deadeye. I have been enjoying it quite a bit and having a decent amount of fun with it. You can also run pistol here if you'd like. You might have to switch out a couple of things, but you can adapt this for pistol quite easily. But it's generally built around rifle and kneeling in the back line and doing a shit ton of damage. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I shall see you in the next one. Let me know if this build works for you, and if you have as much enjoyment with it as I do. Take care.